Welcome to Being Humankind, with your hosts Brian, Mike, and Neely. We explore what it means to be human in a time of disconnection.
What is the most meaningful silence that you've ever experienced?
The most meaningful silence, the silence of my initiation with my wife at the Sanctuary of Elefsis, at the presence of my teachers and friends.
Perfect.
I can't lie about this, ever.
Why was it meaningful to you?
Because I was surrounded by love, friendship, and a geography that I'm in love with. And the nature is beautiful. And just to absorb all this while you receive something from your favorite people, along with your wife, together, that brought me into tears. I couldn't stop crying from happiness. It was the most beautiful silence I've ever experienced, or at least one of the most beautiful. I can think of a couple of more during certain gigs that fulfilled me inside, playing with some of my heroes and stuff. But honestly, if I had to pick something, I would say during my short stay in Athens with my wife, when we went to be initiated with my friends and teachers, specific friends and teachers, at the Sanctuary of Demeter in Elefsis, in Athens, on a beautiful summer day, close to September, actually. There was a long silence among everyone around, but it was the most loud thing I have ever heard in my life. I could hear the echo of the thousands of initiates and hierophants and torchbearers at the sacred way. I could see their footsteps. Literally, they left marks on the sacred way. I could see the marks of the heavy doors of the sanctuary opening and closing. And I was standing next to the throne of the hierophant inside the sanctuary, receiving the sacred objects from my teachers so I can bring the tradition to the United States. And that was the most moving thing in the world for me. I will never forget it. I don't need much to go by and feel happy inside. But that was one of the most beautiful silences ever. I felt like I can die the next day and I wouldn't care. I would be complete. No problem for me. I'm happy it didn't happen that way. I'm just saying. Yeah. And the most important thing is that my wife was like really next to me, hugging me. You know, we're together. So we went through this together. So to me, that's supreme. And that, by no means, I'm not trying to decrease the value of anything else I've received. I love it the same. It just has a certain emotional leverage to it, because a certain emotional value to it, so to speak. Because it happened at my home, under an environment that I'm familiar with a lot of friends, and with my wife at the same time. So that felt like a wedding, to tell you the truth. It's a very strange thing to say, but that's how it felt to me. I felt like I was marrying something. It's very beautiful. And I could smell the wheat and the flowers, and I could see the Gulf of Salamis, where the Persian War happened, at the Battle of Salamis with the Persians. And I could see it. It just, I don't know, that silence had so much noise in it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Because, yeah, you have to understand that I was standing where Plato was standing 2 millennia ago, doing the same sacred acts, or similar. I was standing where Marcus Aurelius was initiated, Augustus, where Socrates, where Pythagoras, where Aristotle stood. So to me, it was very real. And that silence scared me. I felt like they were watching me and that I was performing, and that if I do something wrong, they're going to judge me. And I was very careful with the ancestral memory and legacy. I felt, for some reason, and I don't want to sound superstitious or silly right now, that all my teachers and heroes were standing next to me, holding torches, looking at me, waiting for me to see if I'm worthy of it. And I'm like, ooh, This is like, uh-oh. That's like Miles Davis asking you to walk up and play with him. It's like, really? You know? So it doesn't matter how fancy it sounds or not. All I'm saying is that it was simple, beautiful, and among friends. And that silence made my imagination catapult to the stratosphere. I could see Plato in a linen gown holding a torch next to me, looking at me like, dude, you represent me today? Like, shaking his head in disapproval. I was worrying, disappointing the spirit of my ancestors by being in that sacred place. But no, that's not the case. But I could see everything, the footsteps of the initiates, the markings from the doors, the flowers, the throne of the Hierophant, what's left of it. But there is something left of it. So it's magnificent. So you look at all these, the thick columns, and you say to yourself, I don't know what to say to myself. It's petrified. And it was so simple, nothing. Like if you come and see this, you just see 50 people, like 30 people, like standing in silence, like just looking at each other or something. But to me, it was the most loud thing ever. Yeah. And the weight on my shoulders for what that means is like, yeah. Because they passed down something to me, they passed me the lineage. They didn't just initiate me that day. So I was thinking to myself, oh my goodness, is it even in the right hands? What am I doing here? It's like, I can't even reach Plato at the height of his toenail. It's like, what am I doing? It's like, what am I pretending to do here? But that's how ancestry is. They pass it to you. Whatever it is, whatever you can do. So I learned to surpass my fear in that silence and said to myself eventually, it came to me because it wanted to come to me. If it didn't, it wouldn't. So next. Yeah. And I have my wife to constantly remind me, don't judge yourself too harsh. Don't be too self-judgmental. So I'm trying, it's the responsibility culturally, not esoterically or whatnot, but culturally, the weight for me is like, if I do a mistake and my teachers disapprove, if I do this, if I do that. In the end of the day, it's like driving a car. There's no other way to learn other than to start driving it. You're going to hit someone. Here and there, you might hit the bumper, yes. Nothing that can be fixed. That is what I said to our friend earlier, that as long as I don't kill someone and I just scratch their bumper, we'll fix it. We'll go to the nearest body shop and fix it, so to speak. So, yeah, that silence was very loud.